I think it did.
We're live. We are live. Happy New Year, John.
Happy New Year, Jeremiah. Good to be back.
Oh, absolutely. First episode of the year for our Agent Blend. I'm excited about this episode and just what's going to be in our future. I got to tell you, I was a little late. I appreciate your patience. Got in late. I had to do part of my makeup in the car, so.
Yeah, I was going to say you're looking a little disheveled.
But Happy New Year, man.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Oh, and you told me you have a new background. You tell me about what's going on there.
It's real, by the way. None of that fake stuff.
This is none of the fake stuff. This is the real deal.
It's the real deal right here, guys. So this right here is pine shiplap. Just went down to Dixie Line and grabbed some. But yeah, it's from all the way from the floor to the ceiling there. If you can see, I'm still
awesome
dialing it in. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a nice addition to the office.
Well, and John, you can tell people the truth. It's not Dixie Line. It was reclaimed from that antique. Remember that boat that sailed across
Barbara? We sailed off into the sunset. No, it's you know what, I keep thinking, I'm going to finish it somehow with a stain or something like that, but for now I think I'm going to leave it and try to get the rest of the office just dialed in so it's not so disheveled. But what you see, I think, is just the background, so that's good.
Well, it looks good from where I'm sitting.
Cool.
But cool, man. Well, hey, let's get into it. We got to, as always, we have what you and I think is at least thought-provoking, all real estate related, and let's give our audience our 2 cents.
Cool.
I thought right off the get-go, let's see. I'll show our first topic. Another crazy housing market coming in 2020. This came out of a CNN opinion piece entitled "Buyers Get Ready for Another Crazy Housing Market Next Year." And I think we both agree, right?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it is going to be a crazy housing market. No question. Just kind of to pick it apart a little bit, Jeremiah, I think one of the first things that the author was saying of this particular article was that buyers need to have patience. And I think he's absolutely right. In this marketplace right now, you need to be really well prepared, and you need to be patient and have an accurate understanding of price point, and work with a good agent such as yourself. You really do need somebody who knows what they're doing. So yeah, and this went into a lot of different details. I'm not going to hog the mic here, but there's certain trade-offs that buyers, I think, need to make in this marketplace. They may not have the selection to actually get every single thing on their list of, their perfect 10 list, those top 10 items or whatever it might be. It might be that you're going to hit the top 3 or the top 4 on your list. And if you do that, then you're winning. So
it's those concessions that we talk about.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I think in this case you agree as well, right? That this marketplace is going to be kind of similar to last year.
I do. I mean, along with those, repeated concessions. I mean, not that people have to just throw everything out the window, but we're just going to see more of what we have been. I mean, when you continue to have the low inventory, when we continue to have the high demand. And then just this whole concept of what our economy is going through with this inflation, there's nothing really holding back the prices from going anywhere but up.
Right.
So and that's what makes it competitive. I thought there was an interesting point that this author made where he said that some of the buyers will see the fixed cost of being able to lock into these mortgages as a way to hedge against this inflation. And I do feel I agree with him. I feel like we're going to see that more with the vulnerability of what's going to be happening, and people go, well, at least even if I'm not getting the most, the lowest rate ever, um,
Right.
I know I can lock in that rate, and I know that that rate's not going to change, and I know I can budget for my monthly expenses. So
That's good.
I thought that was really important because I think we're going to see a lot of people on the fence on what should we be doing, and it's what can you do to control your future. That's the way I've been looking at it, at least over the last couple years.
Right.
So
Yeah, I completely agree, especially if you're talking with someone who is currently renting right now and then thinking about buying something. We're both working, with folks I can imagine that are in that position where maybe they've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and now they do want to go for it and see what they can actually purchase as their own. And I think that's a brilliant idea. And the sooner they can do it, the better they're going to be, better off they're going to be, because I see, and I could be wrong, but I see the prices trending up again over the course of 2022.
mhm.
We definitely, inflation's already here, but I think it's going to get much worse. And as far as what you can control, I think that's what it all comes down to is this could be an asset that is either kept over time, or something that, again, if you hang on to it for, let's say 7 to 10 years, just to be on the safe side, you're building up equity in that property. And so now you're able to turn around and use that equity, as you wish, really. And in some cases, it's to pull the trigger on another piece of property. So
Sure.
there's just so many advantages to people if they can get into the market, even if it's not, if the property doesn't have every single thing on their list. They're still doing themselves a huge favor just to get
Mhm.
into the market, while you can.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, and I've to your point of getting in, I've even had some clients that are relocating that
Mhm.
have chosen to invest in something small to live
Right.
in while they figure out exactly where they want to be, while they wait for the right property to come along.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's many ways to go about that. Whether you are relocating and you just don't know the area,
Mhm.
and you get something small that you either end up selling or you end up just having as an income property. But
Right.
I've also seen some of my other clients that are choosing to rent while also owning real estate. And I thought that was kind of an interesting tactic, especially if they go, hey, Jeremiah, I got a screaming deal on this rental. I like the location, I
Mhm.
like the flexibility. And I'm also invested in, I have other real estate. So I
Right.
just, I think we're going to see a lot more people kind of hedging and just going, hey, you know, I want to be in it, but and I think that's what we're encouraging people to do is at least get into it,
Yeah.
even if you're not going into it 100%. I think that you got to get part of your portfolio in real estate.
Yeah, what you just described there actually reminds me of a nice couple. They have a grandson who is here in San Diego, and their daughter's down here, and they bought him a modular home. And they're like, "Look, I know that this isn't going to be our forever home, but it's an interim." And now they want to start looking at some point this year. They're telling me they want to buy something that's much larger, and with land and all sorts of other bells and whistles. But that purchase was an interim purchase for them.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Also, this article talked about affordability, and how um, cities, of course, have taken a huge hit since COVID, and a lot of people have been moving to the suburbs.
Are you talking about the next article?
I think it kind of ties into it.
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
But in this first one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were talking about three factors that might influence a buyer's decision
That's right.
to move
Yeah.
forward. So it was inflation they touched on, remote work, and affordability. And so they were just saying that the prices of homes in the suburbs are also being impacted by this, and they're just going up. But that does tie in actually to the next article there.
Well,
So
let's do it straight to it. This
okay,
was, let's see, where was this one in? This was in Bloomberg. U.S. housing crisis only gets worse as the population shrinks. Um, and I'll put a link to that article in the chat here. But just to remind everybody, and you correct me if I'm wrong, John, but this is looking at data, but also speculating on what might come, right?
yes, it's kind of a combination. Is how I read it, and it definitely caught my attention because declining population. I'm thinking, oh God, well, what's happening, right? And what they are referring to there is declining populations in cities. So people again moving out to the suburbs because they have more flexibility now, and their work, they can work remote. So it's been very interesting because some people, let's say, that had a job in New York City, are now literally living here in North County, San Diego, and they're keeping their job in New York City. And so it's freed up where people are able to move. Um, One of the things that this article touched on was that there's certain areas of growth that people are attracted to naturally. It's human nature. We're attracted to growth and movement. And so those particular areas are seeing a lot more growth over the last 2 years. And the projection is even more so in 2022. Areas like Austin, Texas, Boise, Idaho, Raleigh, North Carolina, I think they mentioned as well. So those areas of growth, because people feel like there's more stability there, there's more life there, and they have an opportunity to even get another job if they're also looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of an interesting article because the affordability of homes in general in some of these areas, not the ones that I mentioned, but one of their examples was Toledo, Ohio. Not many people wanted to live there. And they were saying that the average home price, I believe, is somewhere around 200,000 or $250,000 for a home there. So compared to what we're seeing, obviously very affordable. But by the same token, if you don't have the jobs or the growth or that again, human nature, what human nature is attracted to in that, then most people aren't going to want to live there. So um, I forget, Jeremiah, there was a term that this article used. I forget to describe basically a demographic moving to a different area altogether. But
Was it I think it was the stagnant metro, right? Was that what it
yeah,
was?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and I mean, we're seeing some of what this article touched on here. Thankfully, we live in an area where people seem to really want to come to and enjoy. Um, but I don't know. The article. That's why we're talking about it. It caught my attention. But I also feel, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the cities, of course, are going to want people back in the cities, right? To bolster the economy and things like that. So I got to imagine that those prices are now relatively affordable compared to what they were, of course, pre-COVID. And that some folks may even be thinking, okay, I've had this house in the suburbs for all these years. It was worth 600,000. Now it's worth 900,000. Could we take that and maybe have some fun in the city and live in the
Mhm.
city for a while? So there's different schools of thought because, COVID hasn't disappeared. I think it's going to be part of our lives for quite a while. Um, but I just thought it was an interesting article there. So I don't know. I touched on a lot of different points, but
Yeah.
what?
Well,
what
it was kind of funny. I was listening to your commentary about areas that were hit hard, and I was thinking about New York City
Yeah,
and New York in particular. I mean, they just got hammered,
yeah,
but their resurgence even real estate wise, among other things, has been remarkable, and that has really surprised me.
Hmm.
I mean, you touched upon Austin and Boise and those areas, and I can kind of see why those were big draws to a lot of people, and that's a whole other conversation. But
Right.
the resurgence of some of these areas that were previously sought after, I think people have capitalized on a lot of that. Now,
Right.
obviously, the sustainability, I don't know, the New York City market, but yeah, that's really interesting. Um, I I find that there's with working folks, there's kind of two sides. There's people that need to be boots on the ground,
Hmm.
and then there's the people that can work remotely. And I think that that's where we're seeing, especially here in San Diego, I think we're seeing a surplus of those that don't have to physically be in the
Right.
office, and they're able to work for their company, whether it's here in California, San Francisco, LA, or it's across the nation,
Right.
anywhere, including New York, as you mentioned. So I think in here in San Diego, we're seeing something that's completely different than potentially what we're seeing over. Again, I don't know the Boise and Austin market well enough, but I do know that our larger corporations have gone there. So
Hmm.
I think that's where we're just seeing more boots on the ground type of jobs where you need to be there in person. But I got to tell you, I'm concerned. Do you see some neighborhoods, even around San Diego, where you're like, wow, the prices really shot up, like,
Yes.
like abnormally high. Is
Hmm.
that sustainable? And I think about the same thing for, places like Boise and places like Austin. I mean, of course, I have family over in Texas, and I hear their stories about their friends and family that are going, wow, we're getting priced out. We grew up here.
Right.
But how about just the sustainable, as soon as someone goes, oh, well, this wasn't quite what we wanted here in Austin, and we're paying top dollar.
Right.
And we could get such and such of a property over on the West Coast, or we could get such and
Hmm.
such property over in a different state. Um, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but that's what I'm really curious to see what happens with that magnitude of people that have moved. Sometimes across country, sometimes just couple states away, and and what that's going to look like a couple years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that, we've got so many first time home buyers in the marketplace now as well. And I believe there's somewhere around 37% is the prediction. They're going to represent 37% of the folks who purchase homes in 2022, or, right thereabouts. So that's a huge percentage. And most of them, if they haven't been kind of living with mom and dad, have been renting. The vast majority. So it's now they're going into a market where, yes, the interest rates are low, but the competition, and we're seeing this firsthand here, for homes or even a condo in San Diego for under $700,000. Good luck, because on any given house there's 20 to 30 offers. Like, it's crazy. Um, so I think that, of course, it's the supply and demand, and the demand is there, the supply is not there. And in these areas, I know exactly what you're talking about, Jeremiah, where you're going, that how is that sustainable? And that property that I viewed as $500,000 is now $800,000 over the course of the last year and a half. It jumped that amount. How is that sustainable? I feel like people in there's a lot of first time home buyers right now that are kind of on the fence, that if the interest rates stay where they're at right now, they'll be able to purchase something potentially. But if the interest rates climb up, even a half a percentage point, I feel like a lot of those people are not going to be looking at the $700,000 condo. They're going to be more around the $600,000 range. And it just gets more competitive as you go further down the scale. So I don't know that it is sustainable long term. And I think all of our buyers right now need to be very clear on why they're looking to purchase. I still think it's a good idea, but you really need to understand your why and your purpose for the property, and you know what that's going to mean for you and your family.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and your long-term goals.
yeah.
Um, I think this is a good segue.
Yes.
We'll shoot right in to what to expect in 2022. This was from U.S. News, and oh, well, they read my mind. What to expect from the housing market in 2022,
There you
and
go.
we've, to a certain degree, we've talked about that already a bit, right?
Yeah.
Here, I'll just put this link in the comments, and it's the inventory, the demand, the affordability. I mean, that all of that's going to continue. What you were touching upon were the interest rates,
Hmm.
and not that I've heard you know, enough people in our circles that are overly concerned, enough people from our lenders that think it's going to get outrageous.
No.
But what you touch upon is, yes, even a quarter point, half a point is going to make a significant impact
Right.
on those first time home buyers, on those buyers. I would argue under the median price point,
Hmm. Yeah.
here in San Diego at least. And I think that's what's going to potentially bring down, and I say potential because I don't know, maybe we'll just continue to have investors swooping in and saying, hey, if the first time home buyers don't want it, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But I think that may potentially slow it down and give us a little more bump in inventory. I feel for those particular buyers, but I feel like that's something that is needed, to kind of
Right.
make a slight adjustment on, okay, we can't have these fly off the shelf that fast.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who also have equity in their homes that may not be first-time home buyers that are thinking about purchasing investment properties. So they're going to leverage that equity in their home to purchase an investment property, and that's just adding to the pressure for these first-time home buyers as well, and the competition. And then, of course, like you touched on, Jeremiah, the cash buyers who have done, let's say, very well in the stock market, and now they want to pull it and park it in real estate. And somewhere around the seven or even $800,000 range for a home anywhere around San Diego, um, crazy to say, is inexpensive for our marketplace.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think that I am seeing investors doing that as well. So it's it's a combination of things, but I will say that the projection for the rental market is also continued growth. So if you're paying, let's say, $2,200 a month right now for something, there's a good chance that if you haven't already renewed your lease, that's going to go up, and it's just a matter of by how much. And so again, it's a lot of people are looking at that, specifically first time home buyers, going, okay, now it's getting to a point where if I can come up with a down payment, then I can actually work it where it's either on par with where I was renting or maybe even slightly below in some cases. And now I own the property. So,
No, absolutely. No, I mean, that's, to me, for anyone renting, and you and I have talked about this at length. You really just have to look at the numbers,
yeah.
and you and I are never surprised when it's either a wash
Hmm.
or they're not having to come up with much more.
Right.
And now they have some skin in the game. Now
Right.
you know, now they're playing a role and investing in real estate. Um, Speaking of investing, just to kind of make some projections that I see, I watch, crypto pretty closely, watch the stock market pretty closely. I mean, those sectors are getting hammered right
Yeah.
now. And I think you've alluded to it, but, with some of our cash buyers that are saying, hey, listen, I want to put a little more into real estate to diversify. And
Right.
that's what I'm going to see. That's what I expect to see more is
Right.
that we're gonna see people going a little more heavy in real estate. I know that there's no ticker on
Yeah.
any of the homes that we own, where it's like, oh, I just lost,
Right.
2% today, or I
Right.
gained 5% today. But for those day trading minded people that are
Hmm.
watching their 401ks, or that are watching, their
Yeah.
their, their investments, I think that's going to have a huge impact. I mean, gosh, we see what happens when Elon Musk either has a tweet or sells his stock, a portion of
Yes.
his stock. There's a panic. Just a panic that ensues.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where not that prices aren't dictated by buyers in real estate, but I feel like uh, it's a little less drastic, and it doesn't happen quite as fast.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I think we're going to see people call it hedging or just call it diversifying. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in 2022.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. Um, and from my standpoint, it's if you can secure a piece of property, you're winning. You really are winning, and there's ways to make it work with the finances and things like that. But investing in real estate is a lot like watching water boil. It typically just takes a long time, and you sit on it, and then you leverage that and get something else, and you sit on it. But the key is to be able to hang on to those properties when stuff hits the fan and when things aren't going that great. That's really the key. If you can have that holding power, then you're that's the next level.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what to expect, again, getting back to that from the housing market this year. I think that buyers in particular are really going to have all of their ducks in a row. So they're going to need to be pre-approved. They're going to be, in most cases, hopefully working with a lender that, like, for example, Jeremiah, personally, or I know personally. And there's a way to separate them from the rest of the pack. All things being equal, if you're sending a video along with your offer package, or just making sure that the offer package is clean and complete, and you're painting a solid picture of the people that you're representing. I mean, just that, if I'm the listing agent and I see that, puts you leaps and bounds ahead of the vast majority of offers that are seen. So,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I completely agree. It's from our side in representing our clients, it's being very tactical, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's not going anywhere.
Right.
That's going to be something that's going to be impactful for consumers, making sure they have someone advocating for them, and
Hmm.
also making sure they have someone guiding them with that tactical um, expertise to say,
Right.
listen, this is what's going to give us our best shot. Can we guarantee our client's going to win every bidding war? Absolutely not.
No.
But we know we have strategies that are going to give them that best shot.
That's right.
So I completely agree with that. And I think that it also translates to the selling side too, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I saw a property right down the street from where we live earlier or later last year that just put the property on with an outside picture, not even taken from an iPhone, because iPhones take good photos.
They do.
It looked like it was, it had the date in the bottom right hand corner embedded in it.
Wow.
So
That's old
what?
school. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I'm thinking that was it wasn't on the market for very long. I don't know if an investor picked it up. I don't know who purchased it,
Mhm.
but talk about leaving money on the table, you
Yeah.
know, and to not be tactical about selling, you know, a property.
Right.
You know, let alone yeah, you talk to a buyer, they get it, they understand, especially if they've already lost a couple offers or lost out on a couple bidding wars.
Yeah.
They understand that you know, like this is intense. You know, that there needs to be a strategy, and I think
Right.
some of the sellers out there need to realize that to really maximize that money, you also really need a tactical strategy. So I definitely think that's going to continue this year.
Yeah, definitely. There's still some folks that I know and have worked with that are looking for quote unquote deal. And I think the deal right now in this marketplace is that you don't find the deal, you have to create it. So you can find the property, of course, but then you have to create it and be creative within what you're working with, those parameters, to really maximize what it is you're looking to do, whether it's from an investment standpoint or just for your own personal enjoyment,
Sure.
you know. But being open to that, and I think a lot of would-be sellers over this last year did not sell their homes, but instead refinanced their homes, or took a home equity line of credit and did a whole bunch of work to the house and made the decision that they were going to stay in that home for the next, let's call it 4 to 7, 8, 9 years. So
Hmm.
they were going to make these improvements, stay in the home, and ultimately not sell it at this time. So I think that definitely didn't help with our inventory either. Uh,
Oh,
so
well, absolutely. And then, yeah, I mean, especially if they had the space to work from home, right?
yeah,
We've seen that too, where if you had the space, you already like where you live,
right.
just refi, grab the low rate and sit tight.
Hmm.
And that's, yeah, I mean, I saw just as much of that as people panicking and going, "Hey, I need to get something bigger." So,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
well, fantastic, man. Hey, another great episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, before we go,
Yeah.
Jeremiah, I wanted to mention my mother-in-law, Dawn Mates, she closed recently on a duplex in Carlsbad Village,
Yes.
and she's having a pre-demo party
Cool.
on Sunday from 11 to 3. So I'm just throwing that out there because folks will be able to see it in person, and realtors, obviously whoever is invited, everyone's invited, but you'll be able to see the property before it's demolished. And then we're going to do an after as well. So
Um, is there going to be like a wrecking ball that's like just
there's,
dangling?
there's going to be sledgehammers, um, and hopefully safety glasses. And I think alcohol, but yeah.
Out, wait, isn't there alcohol and hard hats? Is that
It must be a thing, right? Yeah,
or it should be a thing?
it should be. Yeah. Anyways,
Awesome.
but yeah, so it's just an example of it wasn't a deal. It wasn't a quote unquote deal, but someone who's going to take it and turn it into something I think pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. You know
yeah, it'll
how that
be
goes.
it'll be fun. Yeah, but good. I'm glad. So we kind of set the stage for this upcoming year. Then it's going to be another nutty year.
Oh, it's going to be
There's-
another nutty year. You know, I think we've told a couple people we may be having some special guests on the show, and
Mhm.
looking forward to continuing to have some fun each Thursday.
Yes, yes, you know it.
All
All
right,
right.
John.
Thank you, Jeremiah. That was fun.
Absolutely. As always, if you guys have any questions, let us know. But Happy New Year, man,
Happy
and
New Year.
look forward to next week.
Yes, sounds good.
All right. Adios.
Adios.